Good evening, viewers and listeners of Concerned Citizens Media. Thank you again for coming back. Today is January the 11th, 2024. Thank you for joining me. So I have news update to share with you. I will start with the breaking news. So the war in the Middle East may be expanding now. So Israel is still conducting it is indiscriminate bombardment, uh, you know, carrying all kind of military operation, uh, despite the lawsuit against it in The Hague by International Criminal Court. But still, the war is active. Days and destruction is still being reported, and also tension and continued escalation between Israel and Lebanon. That's still active. Now we have another front is just breaking now. United States and the United Kingdom carried out airstrikes in Yemen. So this is another escalation of uh, military action in the Middle East. Let's listen to the Sky News a little bit. This is just breaking now.
Of explosions in the capital of Yemen. This is Sana'a. 3 explosions heard in Yemen's Sana'a, according to witnesses. This is via Reuters. They are claiming that the United States and Britain have started military action. That's according to the Reuters news agency. We haven't independently verified that. So that's the breaking news on the story that we've obviously been covering as our lead this evening. But 3 explosions, according to witnesses, have been heard in Yemen's Sana'a, the capital. There will, of course, keep you updated on that story as more information comes into us on that. Just seeing if there's anything else coming in. We're hoping to get some more reports on this developing story shortly. James Matthews, our correspondent in Washington, D.C., is being lined up to update us as to what the US are saying. Now, previously we'd had briefings from the Pentagon not pointing to any imminent action this evening, and we know that we've had the cabinet call this evening, the full cabinet call in the United Kingdom with Rishi Sunak. We believe possibly that the Foreign Secretary, Lord Cameron, is still in talks with the Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, as we haven't seen him leave Downing Street. But let's get an update now from James Matthews, who's in Washington, D.C. for us. Can we confirm these reports that we're getting via Reuters, James, that there have been strikes in Yemen's capital, Sana'a, this evening?
Hi, Gillian. Yeah, we don't have any official confirmation from London or from Washington, D.C. What we have is a report from Reuters quoting 4 US officials saying that attacks have begun. And within the last couple of minutes, a Houthi official is quoted as saying that what they refer to as enemy raids have taken place on Sana'a in Yemen. That is added to these witness reports that you've been referring to of at least 3 explosions being heard. So eyewitness evidence coupled with unofficial guidance at this stage would tend to indicate that these attacks are underway. The guidance had been that it was a matter of hours prior to that cabinet meeting. So in terms of the timing, the projected timing, the guidance that we have been getting from top-level sources on either side of the Atlantic, it would tie in with what is being reported now. It would appear that these attacks are indeed underway. Still many questions at this stage. We still await official confirmation, of course, and we await confirmation of what these targets are and indeed where they are. According to that Houthi official who's being quoted on the news wires, he's talking about enemy raids in Sana'a, which would tend to indicate a built-up area, but that, of course, is merely coming from one source, unconfirmed. We will await official confirmation in due course, presumably from the people who have fired the missiles in the UK and the United States, and also from the people in Yemen at the other end.
Okay, so that is the breaking news from Sky News, quoting Reuters and also Houthi official. Al Jazeera also reported, BBC also reported this, U.S. and United Kingdom combined military action against Houthis in Yemen. So this is another expansion of war in the Middle East, and we are watching it, and we don't know how deep this war gonna go, and we'll see what will be the final goal. United Kingdom and the U.S. Warned the Houthis not to attack the vessels. Houthis targeted, Israeli-bound ships, and still now determined to continue their operation. Any vessel heading to Israel, they are not attacking the United States. They are not attacking the United Kingdom. But anyway, the U.S. and Britain decide to take military action against Houthis in Yemen. That is the breaking news. And the other one I have for you to share on the video is thanks to South Africa's brave, strong commitment for freedom, equality, justice. They brought the case against Israel, while all these Palestinian neighbors are silent. It's supposed to be Egypt or Jordan or Saudi Arabia or United Arab Emirates supposed to bring this case, but all of them failed. And South Africa honored today by bringing a case against Israel, genocide case in the international justice criminal court. So I will share that video a little bit with you. If you want to watch the whole hearing, it is available, in different media. I use the United Nations video. If you want, you can go there and watch the whole video, but it's more than 3 hours, but I'll share a little bit with you. So just give me a little bit time. So, as I said, South Africa courageously brought genocide case against Israeli today at International Criminal Justice Court in The Hague. It is a very tough move by South Africa when the rest of the countries, were silent, and the United States is against it, and Israel is condemning this action, and the Middle Eastern countries were, they're just giving lip service. They don't act. So South Africa took the courage to stand for humanity, democracy, justice, freedom for all. So we should appreciate South Africa for doing this, for taking this huge responsibility on behalf of Palestinians. Let's listen a little bit from the hearing today.
Declaration in open court that he will exercise his powers impartially and conscientiously. Pursuant to Article 31, Paragraph 6 of the statute, that same provision applies to judges ad hoc. Before inviting Judge Moseneke and Judge Barak to make their solemn declarations, I shall first, in accordance with custom, say a few words about their careers and qualifications. Judge Dikgang Ernest Moseneke, of South African nationality, has had a distinguished career as a judge, law practitioner, and academic. After obtaining degrees in English, political science, and law from the University of South Africa, he practiced as an attorney and an advocate with the Pretoria Bar. In 2001, he was appointed a judge on the High Court in Pretoria, and a year later, he became a judge on the Constitutional Court of South Africa, where he was Deputy Chief Justice for more than a decade and Acting Chief Justice in 2013 and 2014. Judge Moseneke is also an honorary professor in the Department of Jurisprudence at the University of Pretoria and has served as a Chancellor of the Pretoria Technikon and the University of Witwatersrand in Johannesburg. Judge Moseneke has received numerous honorary doctorates and awards. I shall now say a few words about the career and qualifications of Judge Barak. Judge Aharon Barak, of Israeli nationality, has had an eminent career as a judge and law professor. He holds a PhD in law from the Hebrew University of Jerusalem and served as the Dean of the Faculty of Law of that university between 1974 and 1975. He was appointed to the Israeli Supreme Court in 1978 and served as its president from 1995 to 2006. Prior to joining the Supreme Court, Judge Barak served as the Attorney General of the State of Israel between 1975 and 1978. He has taught law in a number of law schools, including Yale University, the Hebrew University of Jerusalem, and the Reichman University in Herzliya, Israel. Judge Barak has also written extensively in law and has received numerous honorary degrees and awards. In accordance with the order of precedence fixed by Article 7, Paragraph 3 of the Rules of Court, I shall first invite Judge Moseneke to make the solemn declaration prescribed by the statute, and I request all those present to rise. Judge Moseneke, you have the floor.
I solemnly declare that I will perform my duties and exercise my powers as a judge honorably, faithfully, impartially, and conscientiously.
I thank Judge Moseneke, and I now invite Judge Barak to make the solemn declaration prescribed by the statute. Judge Barak, you have the floor.
I solemnly declare that I will perform my duties and exercise my powers as judge honorably, faithfully, impartially, and consciously.
I thank you, Judge Barak. Please be seated. I take note of the solemn declarations made by Judge Ad hoc Moseneke and Judge Ad hoc Barak, and I declare them duly installed as judges ad hoc in the case concerning application of the Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide in the Gaza Strip, South Africa versus Israel. I shall now recall the principal steps of the procedure in the present case. On 29 December 2023, the government of South Africa filed in the registry of the court an application instituting proceedings against the State of Israel, alleging violations by the latter of its obligations under the 1948 Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide. I shall refer to this convention as the Genocide Convention. To found the jurisdiction of the court, South Africa invokes Article 36, Paragraph 1 of the Statute of Court and Article 9 of the Genocide Convention. South Africa states that its applications concerns acts threatened, adopted, condoned, taken, and being taken by the government and military of Israel against the Palestinian people, a distinct national, racial, and ethnical group, in the wake of the attacks in Israel on 7 October 2023. South Africa contends that the acts and omissions by Israel of which it complains are genocidal in character because, I quote, they are intended to bring about the destruction of a substantial part of the Palestinian national, racial, and ethnical group, that being the part of the Palestinian group in the Gaza Strip, end of quote. South Africa asserts that the relevant acts are attributable to Israel, which has failed to prevent genocide and is committing genocide, and which has also violated and continues to violate other fundamental obligations under the Genocide Convention. The application contains a request for the indication of provisional measures pursuant to Article 41 of the Statute of Court and Articles 73, 74, and 75 of the Rules of Court. According to South Africa, I quote, "Provisional measures are necessary in this case to protect against further severe and irreparable harm to the rights of the Palestinian people under the Genocide Convention, which continue to be violated with impunity. South Africa requests that the court indicate provisional measures to protect and preserve those rights, as well as its own rights under the Convention, and to prevent any aggravation or extension of the dispute pending the determination of the merits of the issues raised by the application." End of quote. The registrar will now read out the passage from the request specifying the provisional measures which the government of South Africa is asking the court to indicate. You have the floor, Mr. Registrar.
Thank you, Madam President. I quote, 1. The State of Israel shall immediately suspend its military operations in and against Gaza. 2. The State of Israel shall ensure that any military or irregular armed units which may be directed, supported, or influenced by it, as well as any organizations and persons which may be subject to its control, direction, or influence, take no steps in furtherance of the military operation referred to point 1 above. 3. The Republic of South Africa and the State of Israel shall each, in accordance with their obligations under the Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide in relation to the Palestinian people, take all reasonable measures within their power to prevent genocide. 4. The State of Israel shall, in accordance with its obligations under the Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide in relation to the Palestinian people as a group protected by the Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide, desist from the commission of any and all acts within the scope of Article 2 of the Convention, in particular, A. Killing members of the group, B. Causing serious bodily or mental harm to the members of the group, C. Deliberately inflicting on the group conditions of life calculated to bring about its physical destruction in whole or in part, and D. Imposing measures intended to prevent births within the group. 5. The State of Israel shall, pursuant to point 4c above, in relation to Palestinians, desist from and take all measures within its power, including the rescinding of relevant orders, of restrictions and or of prohibitions to prevent A. The expulsion and forced displacement from their homes, B. The deprivation of B1. Access to adequate food and water, B2. Access to humanitarian assistance, including access to adequate fuel, shelter, clothes, hygiene, and sanitation, B3. Medical supplies and assistance, and C. The destruction of Palestinian life in Gaza. 6. The State of Israel shall, in relations to Palestinians, ensure that its military, as well as any irregular armed units or individuals which may be directed, supported, or otherwise influenced by it, and any organizations and persons which may be subject to its control, direction, or influence, do not commit any acts described in 4 and 5 above, or engage in direct and public incitement to commit genocide, conspiracy to commit genocide, attempt to commit genocide, or complicity in genocide. And insofar as they do engage therein, that steps are taken towards their punishment pursuant to Articles 1, 2, 3, and 4 of the Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide. 7. The State of Israel shall take effective measures to prevent the destruction and ensure the preservation of evidence related to allegations of acts within the scope of Article 2 of the Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide. To that end, the State of Israel shall not act to deny or otherwise to restrict access by fact-finding missions, international mandates, and other bodies to Gaza to assist in ensuring the preservation and retention of said evidence. 8. The State of Israel shall submit a report to the court on all measures taken to give effect to this order within 1 week, as from the date of this order, and thereafter at such regular intervals as the court shall order, until a final decision on the case is rendered by the court. 9. The State of Israel shall refrain from any action and shall ensure that no action is taken which might aggravate or extend the dispute before the court or make it more difficult to resolve. End of quote.
I thank the Registrar. Immediately after the application containing the request for the indication of provisional measures was filed, the Deputy Registrar transmitted an original copy thereof to the Government of Israel. He also notified the Secretary General of the United Nations. According to Article 74, Paragraph 1 of the Rules of Court, a request for the indication of provisional measures shall have priority over all other cases. Paragraph 2 of the same article states that the court shall proceed to a decision on the request as a matter of urgency. This imperative must, however, be balanced with the need to fix a date of oral proceedings in such a way as to afford the parties an opportunity to be represented at the hearings. Consequently, the parties were informed that the date for the opening of the oral proceedings, during which they could present their observations on the request for the indication of provisional measures, had been fixed for Thursday, 11 January 2024 at 10 a.m. I would now like to welcome the delegations of South Africa and Israel, and I note the presence before the court of the agents and counsel of both parties. This morning the court will hear the single round of oral argument of South Africa, which has submitted the request for the indication of provisional measures. It will hear Israel tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. For purposes of this single round of oral argument, each party will have available to it a 3-hour sitting. In this first sitting, South Africa may, if required, avail itself of a short extension beyond 1 p.m. today in view of the time taken up by these introductory remarks. Before I give the floor to the agent of South Africa, I wish to draw the party's attention to Practice Direction 11, which states as follows, I quote, "In oral proceedings on the request for the indication of provisional measures, parties should limit themselves to what is relevant to the criteria for the indication of provisional measures as stipulated in the statute, rules, and jurisprudence of the court. They should not enter into the merits of the case beyond what is strictly necessary for that purpose." End of quote. I now give the floor to the agent of South Africa, His Excellency Mr. Vistumuzi Madonsela. You have the floor, Excellency.
Madam President, distinguished members of the court, it is an honor and a privilege for me to appear before you today on behalf of the Republic of South Africa. I wish to express my gratitude to the court for convening this hearing on the earliest possible date to entertain South Africa's request for the indication of provisional measures in this matter. In our application, South Africa has recognized the ongoing Nakba of the Palestinian people through Israel's colonization since 1948, which has systematically and forcibly dispossessed, displaced, and fragmented the Palestinian people, deliberately denying them their internationally recognized, inalienable right to self-determination and their internationally recognized right of return as refugees to their towns and villages in what is now the State of Israel. We are also particularly mindful of Israel's institutionalized regime of discriminatory laws, policies and practices designed and maintained to establish domination, subjecting the Palestinian people to apartheid on both sides of the Green Line. Decades-long impunity for widespread and systematic human rights violations has emboldened Israel in its recurrence and intensification of international crimes in Palestine. At the outset, South Africa acknowledges that the genocidal acts and omissions by the State of Israel inevitably form part of a continuum of illegal acts perpetrated against the people Palestinian people since 1948. The application places Israel's genocidal acts and omissions within the broader context of Israel's 75-year apartheid, 56-year occupation, and 16-year siege imposed on the Gaza Strip, a siege which itself has been described by the director of UNRWA Affairs in Gaza as a silent killer of people. As the Committee on the Elimination of Racial Discrimination warned on December 21st, hate speech and dehumanizing discourse targeted at Palestinians is raising severe concerns regarding Israel and other states' parties' obligation to prevent crimes against humanity and genocide in the Gaza Strip. This warning has been followed by a succession of warnings, including by 37 United Nations special rapporteurs, of the failure of the international system to mobilize to prevent genocide in Gaza. Today, we are joined in court by representatives of the Palestinian state, the Palestinians who work in the field of human rights, including residents of Gaza who were in Gaza just a few days ago. They are some of the lucky ones who managed to get out of Gaza. Their future and the future of their fellow Palestinians who are still in Gaza depend on the decision this court will make on this matter. With the leave of the court, I now call upon His Excellency, Mr. Ronald Lamola, Minister of Justice of the Republic of South Africa, to make South Africa's substantive opening remarks.
I thank the agent of South Africa for his statement, and I now invite the Minister of Justice and Correctional Services for the Republic of South Africa, His Excellency Mr. Ronald Lamola, to take the floor. You have the floor, Excellency.
Thank you, Madam President, and distinguished members of the court. It is an honor for me to stand here in front of you on behalf of the Republic of South Africa on this exceptional case. In extending our hands across the miles to the people of Palestine, we do so in full knowledge that we are part of a humanity that is at one. These were the words of our founding president, Nelson Mandela. This is the spirit in which South Africa acceded to the Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of Crime of Genocide in 1998. This is the spirit in which we approach this court as a contracting party to the Convention. This is a commitment we owe to the people of Palestine and Israelis alike. As previously mentioned, the violence and the destruction in Palestine and Israel did not begin on the 7th of October 2023. The Palestinians have experienced systematic oppression and violence for the last 76 years. On 6 October 2023 and every day since October the 7th, 2023. In the Gaza Strip, at least since 2004, Israel continues to exercise control over the airspace, territorial waters, land crossing, water, electricity, and civilian infrastructure, as well as over key government functions. Entry and exit by air and sea to Gaza is strictly prohibited, with Israel operating the only two crossing points. Given that continuing effective control by Israel and over the territory of Gaza, Israel is still considered by international community to be under belligerent occupation by Israel. South Africa unequivocally condemned the targeting of civilians by Hamas and other Palestinian armed groups and the taking of hostages on the 7th of October 2023. And has again expressly recorded this condemnation, mostly recently in its note verbal to Israel on the 21st of December 2023. That said, no armed attack on a state territory, no matter how serious, even an attack involving atrocity crimes, can provide any justification for or defense to breaches to the Convention.
whether as a matter of law or morality. Israel's response to the 7th of October 2023 attack has crossed this line and give rise to the breaches of the convention. Faced with such evidence and our duty to do what we can do to prevent genocide, as contained in Article 1 of the convention, the South African government initiated this case. South Africa welcomes the fact that Israel has engaged with the case in order to have the matter resolved by the court, after careful and objective consideration of the facts and submission put before it, as the parties to the convention have intended. This hearing is concerned with South Africa's request to the court for the indication of provisional measures and will necessarily have a narrow and particular focus. I invoke the words of Martin Luther King when he said, "The arch of the moral of the universe is long, always bending towards justice."
Okay.
South Africa's case will be presented by a team of 6 legal.
Care instructions for my Gatsby. My gazpacho.
Mr. Henry Chicken.
Mr.
Okay. So we'll come back to the WHO. So thank you, South Africa, for bringing this serious matter to the International Court of Justice. And today is for South Africa to present the case and the details of the genocide, the intention of Israeli government, and how it impacted, how it destroyed the Palestinians and their city Gaza plus other West Bank. So this is tomorrow. Israel will present its case against this lawsuit. We'll listen to that one too if you have time. This is also a very long video. As I said, if you are interested to continue watching for more than 3 hours, it's available in different media, Sky News and United Nations. You can go there and get it, and it's better, you can learn about law, regulations, genocide, what is genocide, what is the intention, and all this and other details. So still concerned citizens media appreciate South Africa for the courage to stand up for freedom, for human rights and justice for all humanity. And I appreciate, the solidarity they express for the Palestinian peoples. This job supposed to be the Arab League, the Arabs, the so-called, brotherly nation or the cousins, supposed to bring this case, but they didn't. They're just providing lip service for Palestinians. So South Africa should be appreciated, and whether the case, winnable or not, we don't, we care. But bringing the case even to this level is a high task, a high magnitude task. South Africa is taking the risk. Its diplomatic relation with Israel already spoiled, maybe with the United States, because the United States is against this. UK, they may be angry today. That's why they, the timing of the Yemeni bombardment, maybe they are angry. So, maybe they want to show their anger about this bringing Israel to International Criminal Court. So we'll see. This is, a case to injection to stop the war. We don't know if Israel will accept it. We'll see the decision first, and we'll see if the Israeli can obey it. Israel don't care about any laws, really. They're scared, they are frustrated. They condemned South Africa, but we'll see how they act when the decision comes. So that's a very, very sensitive matter to watch. Please keep watching, update yourself, listen to until the end of the final days when the decision will come. First, for provisional action, which is injunction, immediate injunction for Israeli indiscriminate bombardment in Palestine. Then after that, the decision if Israel committed genocide against Palestinians, that might take months. We don't know. It's going to be months, maybe years. We don't know. But the evidence is clear. The evidence is clear. The damage is clear. The killing and the action against, journalists who are already clearly marked, humanitarian organization workers clearly marked, UN schools, mosques, churches. They will convince the court to make a positive decision. But we'll watch it. Let's continue with another video, which is Dr. Tedros Adhanom, WHO head, talking about the challenge in Sudan and Amara region, Ethiopia, and continue with other videos. Thank you again.
The World Health Organization, WHO, has warned that the situation in Sudan is deteriorating after 9 months of conflict. Speaking in Geneva on Wednesday, Director General of the UN agency, Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, said increasing violence, mass displacements, spread of diseases such as cholera, insecurity, and looting are undermining the work to save lives.
An estimated 3.5 million children under 5, 1 in 7 are acutely malnourished, and more than 100,000 are suffering from severe acute malnutrition, requiring hospitalization. At the same time, Sudan is suffering from an outbreak of cholera with around 9,000 cases and 245 deaths.
Turning to the situation in Ethiopia, Dr. Tedros expressed concern about the worsening health crisis in parts of the country, particularly the northwestern region of Amhara, which has been badly affected by conflicts since April.
Restrictions on movement are impeding the provision of humanitarian assistance. Fighting is affecting access to health facilities, either through damage or destruction, roadblocks, and other obstacles. According to a multi-agency report, 61 health facilities have been fully damaged and 39 partially damaged as a result of the recent conflict in Amhara.
It is estimated that over 250,000 people in Sudan fled to neighboring countries,
still,
including Ethiopia, since
being a
April
voice
2023.
for Amhara now, he was accused of. This is a protest against Ethiopia in Mogadishu. It's a massive protest against Ethiopia-Somaliland deal. It's a very escalation.
taasna waxaa leenahay laga aqbalayo Ethiopia waxaa leeyahay Soomaali galbeed baan ay qaatay haddana waxaa doonaysaa inaad badeena qaadatay taas mida aqbaleena ma ahan Soomaali baa leh anagoo hamigeenu ku jiro Soomaali galbeed baa badeena soo dhaqay.
Please read the translation.
Soomaali baa leh Soomaali
But it's a massive protest against Ethiopia-Somaliland memorandum of understanding signed. So it's a still very tension, very serious issue. As I reported before, there is an anger against Ethiopians living in Somalia. They have nothing to do with this decision. Abiy Prosperity Party made this decision. Oromos, Amaras, or Tigrayans, Walaitas living in Somalia has nothing to do. Oromos are also the victim of this government. They are suffering under Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed. So Somalians, please understand, the immigrants have nothing to do with this memorandum of understanding. You can demonstrate against the deal. You can express your anger. Please do not harm those refugees. You have been friendly to them. So that's my message for them. I hope they will listen to me. This one is about Human Rights Watch World Report 2024 exposes Ethiopia's humanitarian despair and global inaction. In its most recent World Report 2024, Human Rights Watch, the HRW, has thoroughly exposed the extensive wartime atrocities and the humanitarian crisis that have plagued Ethiopia, overshadowing the Horn Africa for the duration of 2023. The report, which examines human rights practices in over 100 countries, draw attention to the inadequate international aid afforded to the region, which continues to grapple with long-standing historical grievances and a pervasive culture of impunity for severe criminal acts. The HRW contends that the peace agreement signed in northern Ethiopia in November 2022 hasn't led to significant international action to ensure accountability and an end to human rights abuses. Yes, nothing. We didn't see any action toward that, toward accountability and end of human rights abuses. The organization has noted that Ethiopia's international partners, such as Western countries and the European Union, are resuming normal relations with the Ethiopian federal government. This is occurring despite ongoing reports of crimes against humanity and other serious abuses, especially in the Amhara and Tigray regions, according to Human Rights Watch. What about Oromo? Why you forgot Oromo? Still so many human rights abuses there. The report further emphasizes the extensive displacement crisis throughout the Horn of Africa, which has been intensified by ongoing conflicts and climate events. In Ethiopia, the conflict has compelled in excess of 1.2 million individuals to flee to adjacent countries, thereby intensifying the pre-existing substantial refugee populations from South Sudan, Eritrea, and various other nations that have found refuge within Ethiopian territory. In the face of pressing humanitarian needs, the region's call for assistance have received profoundly inadequate funding, according to the rights group. In Ethiopia, intentional measures taken by the conflict function have exacerbated the humanitarian situation. Accusations have been leveled against Eritrean forces for obstructing the delivery of humanitarian aid to populations within Tigray that fall under their jurisdiction. Concurrently, the Amhara region has encountered difficulties in executing relief operations as a result of intense combat, interruptions in telecommunications, and assaults on humanitarian personnel. The report additionally underscores the regression in advancing accountability within Ethiopia, the cessation of United Nations oversight concerning the human rights conditions by the European Union, notwithstanding a critical evaluation from the International Commission of Human Rights Experts on Ethiopia, coupled with the African Union's cessation of its independent investigations, has elicited apprehensions. The Human Rights Watch underscores that the Ethiopian government's opposition to the international examination has resulted in a focus on instituting an internal transitional justice mechanism. However, in quotation, this approach is regarded with suspicion by victims of abuse who harbor mistrust towards the nation's institutions, reads the report. Mausi Sigun, the Africa director at Human Rights Watch, has highlighted that Ethiopia and Sudan serve as distressing instances where government forces and armed factions contravene international law with minimal repercussion. Segun advocates for enhanced international and regional measures to protect civilians and seize the persistent violations and impunity that endanger civilian lives. Notwithstanding these obstacles, a constructive development has been noted with the United Nations Human Rights Council's decision to initiate an independent international fact-finding mission to scrutinize the transgressions in Sudan. Nevertheless, the report emphasized that the Security Council, concerned nations, and the regional entities, especially the African Union and its human rights organs, ought to give precedence to accountability within any political settlement of the conflict. Thanks to Addis standard. So we will see if those mentioned institutions can bring any accountability for the crimes committed against the victims. This one is says Benjamin Netanyahu on Thursday condemned South Africa's genocide case against Israel in Gaza as, in quotation, hypocrisy and lies, end of quotation, as some Gazans returned to scenes of total devastation in the north of the enclave, where Israeli forces have begun withdrawing. 3 months of Israeli bombardment have led much of the coastal enclave to waste, killing more than 23,000 people and driving nearly the entire population of 2.3 million Palestinians from their homes. This is a genocide by itself, without going into details. An Israeli blockade has sharply restricted supplies of food, fuel, medicine, creating what the United Nations described as a humanitarian catastrophe. Israel says its only means to defend itself is by eradicating Hamas, the Islamist group that rules Gaza, whose fighters stormed through Israeli communities on October 7, killing 1,200 people and capturing 240 hostages. Israel blames Hamas for all subsequent harms on Palestinian civilians for operating among them, which the fighters deny. The case brought by South Africa at the International Court of Justice, ICJ, is in The Hague, accused Israel of violating the 1948 Genocide Convention enacted in the wake of the mass murder of Jews in the Holocaust, which mandates all countries to ensure such crimes are never repeated. Israel has a genocidal intent, this is in quotation, the Palestinian intent against the Palestinians in Gaza, end of quotation. Tembaka Nugukatobi, advocate of the High Court of South Africa, told the court in The Hague, in quotation, the intent to destroy Gaza has been nurtured at the highest level of state, end of quotation. South Africa asked the court for a preliminary order to demand Israel stop fighting now, while the court hears the full merits of the case in coming months. In a strongly worded response, Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said, in quotation, the hypocrisy of South Africa screams to the heaven, end of quotation. Again, in quotation, we are fighting terrorists. We are fighting lies. Today, we saw an upside-down world. Israel is accused of genocide while it is fighting against genocide, end of quotation, he said, Benjamin Netanyahu. Israel's foreign ministry accused South Africa of functioning, in quotation, as the legal arm of the Hamas terrorist organization, end of quotation. You see, they are angry and they are frustrated. They're scared too. So they're just blaming everything on South Africa. South Africa is, supporting Hamas or terrorist organization. In a case built on, again in quotation, false and baseless claims, end of quotation. The White House also said the genocide allegations were unfounded. Palestinians said they hope the court would stop the war. That's, I hope too. I hope the court will have power to stop, Israel from continued bombardment. They are extensively operating today while the court is hearing. They don't care. They don't care. They don't care. I don't know. And now we have additional war, as I said. UK and the United States angry and conducted airstrikes to widen the war. In Rafah, in southern Gaza, where the bodies of members of the Al-Rajani family killed overnight were laid out outside a morgue, neighbor Kahamis Kalab pickup, the smallest of 3 children, bundled in a shroud and cradled the dead infant. This is horrible. In quotation, to the ICJ, what is the fault of this baby? What did this girl do? What crimes did she commit? Was she a terrorist? Did this baby fire rockets? He said. In quotation again, she was inside a tent in the freezing cold. She was hit by a strike. This baby is just a few days old. You people. End of quotation. The Palestinian Red Crescent reported late on Thursday that 9 people had been killed in an Israeli bombardment targeting a house in Rafah. You see, as I said, they continue the genocidal war. They don't care if there is a hearing. They don't care. They don't listen to anybody. They don't care. This is the last one. This is yes, Secretary Blinken meeting with Palestinian Authority President Abbas. He did meet, and this is statement of their meeting. They discuss. I know they're just diplomatic engagement. Abbas and Secretary Blinken. Secretary of State Antony Blinken met with the Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas in Ramallah. Secretary Blinken discussed ongoing efforts to minimize civilian harm in Gaza and accelerate and increase the delivery of humanitarian assistance to Palestinian civilians throughout Gaza to minimize civilian killing. But the numbers keep increasing. It reached more than 2,300. In this regard, the Secretary welcomed the appointment of Sigrid Kaag as the UN Senior Humanitarian and Reconstruction Coordinator for Gaza. The Secretary noted increased volatility in the West Bank and discussed U.S. efforts to address extremist violence. He also underscored the United States' position that all Palestinians' tax revenues collected by Israel should be consistently conveyed to the Palestinian Authority in accordance with prior agreements. The Secretary had a productive discussion with President Abbas about administrative reforms, which, if implemented, would benefit the Palestinian people. The Secretary reaffirmed that the United States supports tangible steps towards the creation of a Palestinian state alongside the state of Israel, with both living in peace and security. I hope so. I hope that will happen. I hope such kind of killing of civilians will never happen again by Israeli against Palestinians. I hope we are eagerly waiting for that two-state solution, even though Gaza is destroyed, even though more than 23,000 people killed. So let me conclude today. I hope the airstrikes carried out by UK and the United States will be a limited one. I hope it will not be an extension of another war. That region is very tense. It's already too much blood in that region. I hope they will, just make it limited. So, and the other thing is COVID-19 also killed about 10,000 people in December. And the hospitalization number in December is also up about 42%. So this COVID-19 is still around, and just watch out. Some cities already mandated masks for their employees. Just keep watching. It's not common, but it's still around. It's not gone. This is very dangerous. It took millions lives. So please be safe from that, and keep updating yourself with current news. I will do my best, and if you want to share, you can share with me too. You can send to my email, 663 at 663@gmail.com, or you can just send it through the comment section. Please subscribe, share, like my video. We try to sharing what is happening in the global community. The globe is connected. We are connected more than ever. Anything happen in the Middle East impacts us. Anything happen anywhere, an attack on one human being is an attack on the other. So let's be based on that, and be active and about the globe you are living in. And that's all I'm going to share for today. Thank you again. I'll be back with other news update. So long, everyone.